The well-known Polygamy family, how things ended. My name is Amber. I'm what my spirit guides call a psychographer. I can focus on things I'm curious about and everything there is to know about it. The good, the bad, and the ugly is revealed to me like videos and recordings in my mind. I'm also able to get what will happen in the future of these subjects of interest. I was born psychic, and that gift, psychography, is the most unusual one I was blessed with. When I get images and dialogues, I can actually download them to my devices and upload them anywhere. Of course, my attorney advises me not to upload these publicly. I can, however, fictionalize the information I receive and share the stories with you. Okay, I hope you enjoy this one. By the way, I don't include everything I get as the stories would get too long. One family, 3 wives, then 4, then none. There's a saying in old parts of the South, what's built crooked doesn't stand long. The story I'm about to tell you isn't just about polygamy, or poverty, or even reality television. It's about power, manipulation, love twisted thin, and the slow public unraveling of a family the world once watched with awe. This is the story of the Weaver family, and how a man named Derek lost everything. In the early days, there were 3 wives. Norma the Rock, mother of 6 with sensible shoes and an eye for numbers. She balanced checkbooks down to the dime, stretched dollars into weeks, and carried the household with the quiet strength of a woman who knew she could rely on no one but herself. Jasmine, the heart of the family, a mother of 5 when the public first met them, and heavily pregnant with her 6th child. She homeschooled every one of Weaver children in a well-worn living room. By night, she taught English classes at a nearby community college. And then there was Marla, the legal wife, mother of 1, possessive, difficult, proud. She wore her legal status like armor, wielding it not to protect but to punish. And above them all, Derek Weaver, the polygamist, flighty, flashy, reckless, chaotic, craved attention like air. The kind of man who bought a red 2-seater sports car while his kids wore hand-me-down coats and boots in winter. But even through the struggle, they were a family. Broken in places, yes, but somehow still standing. Jasmine, through advocacy work she was doing, trying to normalize polygamy to the general public, came to the attention of a cable network who thought their family dynamics would make for an interesting reality show. She excitingly told Derek, who lit up like a billboard, strutting about like getting the show was his accomplishment. This was right up his alley. He envisioned fame and fortune and being adored by the public. Suddenly, they were America's curiosity. There was a great buzz and build-up to the show's premiere. It was called The Many Branches of One Tree. At first, it was a fun train wreck wrapped in heartwarming moments. Audiences fell in love with them, with Jasmine's gentleness, with Norma's quiet power. And Derek? He leaned in, he strutted, he preened and performed, stretched the truth like taffy. But what none of them knew was that the camera's red light was the beginning of the end as they knew it. She was named Ruth. She'd heard of the show, everyone had. Before the show started, it was widely known in the polygamous community that a 4th wife was to be added to the family. Ruth plotted and schemed to accidentally meet Derek at a church get-together. She lived hours away, but somehow came to spend some time with a cousin who went to the same church as the Weavers, hence accidentally meeting Derek. Ruth had done her research. She saw a man who craved praise, being hero-worshipped, and who needed endless validation. She slid into their world like a serpent in silk, soft voice, feigned fragility, the ultimate damsel in distress, endlessly needing to be rescued by Derek. She mirrored Derek's every word, told him he was brilliant, said his ideas were visionary. Derek predictably ate it up. The producers loved the drama. A new wife, genius, perfect for ratings, and the fuse was lit. Ruth didn't come alone. She brought her 3 children and a trail of debt from a previous marriage ruined by her spending addiction. She played the long game. She cozied up to Marla, the legal wife, flattered her, nodded, pretended loyalty. Slowly planted the idea in Marla's head that she is at risk of losing her kids if Derek Weaver didn't legally adopt them. For this, she explained, she needed to be legally married to Derek. And then she asked Marla to divorce Derek. "Just temporarily," she said. "Just long enough for the kids to be adopted. It's just a legal thing," she said. "So Derek can adopt my kids." Marla agreed, maybe from desperation to please Derek, who was already ignoring her for his new trinket. Mostly from manipulation, though, and just like that, Ruth became the legal wife. The word temporary never came up again. Then Ruth revealed even more of her true face. She seized control. She convinced Derek to rewrite 80% of the income into her house, an 8,000 square foot monstrosity with gaudy decorations and way too much stuff. Meanwhile, Norma was in a cramped RV. Jasmine lived in a very modest house with her kids in a house. Ruth didn't work outside of filming. She never helped to take care of the kids, not even her own. She demanded a nanny, but she made sure everyone paid for her lifestyle, even stealing money from accounts the other women put their money in. Money they made outside of the show. And Derek, he let it happen. He helped it happen, gaslighting the women, blaming them, questioning their worth, disparaging them on the show. Norma tried to speak up. So did Jasmine. But Derek had chosen his queen. The expectation was for the women to pretend like nothing was wrong, so the show could continue to bring in income to maintain Derek and Ruth's lifestyle. And together he and Ruth gradually drove the women away through their mistreatment of them. One by one they left. Jasmine left first, with dignity, her 6 children in tow, walking away from 20 years of sacrifice with barely enough for a deposit on a house. Norma followed with even less than Jasmine, weary and done. Marla eventually left too. America saw and was outraged. They saw who raised the kids, who cooked, cleaned, taught, and provided for the kids, and they saw who lied. Ruth and Derek twisted their stories so often even the producers and editors stopped trying to make sense of it. The fans turned, petitions, hashtags, late-night jokes, #Justice for Norma, #Free Jasmine. The show was eventually cancelled. By then, the other wives were already rebuilding. Norma launched a few lucrative ventures. Jasmine married a successful business owner who adored her children. They owned several sought-after vacation rental properties. Marla had a few successful ventures herself and a man who adored her. 15 years later, Derek and Ruth, they spiraled. Without Norma's meticulousness and diligence, they fell into one financial pit after the other. Poor bookkeeping, lying, cutting corners, hiding income. Eventually, they got caught and were investigated for tax fraud. Conviction and prison sentencing followed. They were an even bigger public disgrace. Their mansion was foreclosed, cars repossessed, jewelry and anything of value in their home was sold off to pay debts. It was hardly enough. They both got 8 years in federal prison. When they got out, they had nothing. They moved into a small trailer behind Ruth's mother's house. Old, bitter, forgotten, looking worn and battered. The children of the first 3 wives, remembering how their father treated them and their mothers, had long closed their lives on him. They don't even mention Derek's name unless pressed. Ruth's own children avoid her too, tired of the poison, the drama, the blame. Ruth once told a neighbor, "I never really loved him, you know. He was just a way out." And Derek? He blames Ruth for it all. The prison, the loss, the downfall. During his years in prison, he had nothing but time, and he was forced to face himself and see both Ruth and himself for who they truly are. But the truth, though, was that he did it to himself. He allowed Ruth to do what she did, and he helped her to do it. He recalled how once, in an interview, he had referred to her as a diesel gene model. He smiled bitterly, thinking of the toothless hag who had aged decades beyond her chronological years. He can't even recall if she had ever really looked like a diesel gene model. Of course, he was no catch either. His sparse hair that he spent so much time and money on had long bidden him goodbye. He only has a few brave wisps at the nape of his neck. No money, no reruns, no deals, no interest. Long forgotten, unless at best, as an answer to trivia questions that few even ever get right. The others? Norma, Jasmine, Marla? They and their children were living their best lives, thriving and being loved and respected by those around them. They're whole, and not because of a man, or a show or a spotlight, but because they chose healing. They chose peace, chose themselves. Some stories end in applause, some in silence, and some, they fade, like a cancelled episode, buried in the archives of a network no one remembers, but in the hearts of those who watched, really watched, the Weaver women. They were always the real stars. Pause. And real stars? They don't need the screen to shine.